Well, the goal of the certification program is to make sure that we give students an opportunity to continue to develop their skills as leaders, but then to give them an opportunity to seek to apply those skills. The students spend a lot of time in the classroom. They spend a lot of time learning about the theory and discussing what leadership looks like in maybe an ideal context or something like that. But the LEAD program is something that seeks to give the students an opportunity to engage in the real world, to take those leadership skills and competencies that they're developing in class, and then to go out and apply it in a real way through a leadership project, through an opportunity to work with some partners in a leadership project, and especially to learn from their mentors.
Hello, how are you guys doing this morning? My friends here from Maple Mountain were taking a nap earlier today. You guys awake now? All right. Well, welcome to the 13th Annual Leadership Conference here at UVU. My name's Kirk Young. I'm the director of the Center for the Advancement of Leadership. We're scheduled to have a full house today, and so we're going to have, it looks like a few schools that will be showing up here over the next few minutes. And as they come in, we'll welcome them as well. We designed the setup today so that you would get your early morning exercise as you walked from your parking spot to this area. As you notice, there's a lot of construction going on here on campus. And we're excited about the changes that are going on here at UVU and excited about what's coming over the next couple of years. So thank you for bearing with us a little bit and taking a little bit of an extra long walk to get over here. But like I said, we welcome you to the 13th Annual Leadership Conference here at UVU. It takes a lot to put on a conference like today. We want to thank a few departments and organizations that have been key in helping us pull this off. Like I said, I'm from the Center for the Advancement of Leadership. You've just seen a few videos that highlight some of the elements of our program. We also want to thank the Utah Valley University Student Association. That's our student government group. They've been heavily involved in helping us put this together. The Office of Prospective Student Services has helped us as well. Our Academic and Service Learning Department has helped us. Our University Marketing group has helped us. And then also, you'll notice today several university students that are walking around. They're wearing a name badge that asks if, or says if you have questions to ask them. Those are the students. Each of those students is a member of the Leadership Certification Program here in the Center for the Advancement of Leadership, and they all graciously and happily gave up a day of their spring break to be here today to help you with this. So it is spring break for UVU. I'm sure you noticed that there aren't many students around. But the students who are here are members of the Center for the Advancement of Leadership, so please take a minute and ask them questions. Ask them about the program, ask them about their experience as they work toward a certificate or a certification in leadership. So if you wouldn't mind helping me give a round of applause to each of those organizations who have helped us put this on. I thank each of you for being here today. Each of you is a leader on your campus or involved in leadership or has demonstrated potential for leadership. We specifically asked to have the schools invite those students who are involved, who have shown potential or aptitude for leadership, so we welcome you here today. Hopefully that your participation in today's conference will help you develop your ability to lead. We hope that you will gain practical skills that you can then take back to your schools and apply immediately at school and apply immediately in your lives as well. The theme for this year's conference is Step Up, the Strength to Serve and the Courage to Lead. Leadership is an activity that requires both strength and courage. Each of today's speakers will focus on something related to this theme. We've asked them to design their topics around that. Please thoughtfully select which sessions you will attend. Enjoy your time here on UVU's campus, and we hope that you'll come and visit us again someday. On that note, if you'll take your bag and open that up, can you hand me one of those bags? You've got a lot of things in your bag. We're not going to go through all of that right now, but you have one item in there, and it has a big UVU on the front of it. Okay, UVU and big light bulbs. Okay? You also have a granola bar in there. You'll have lunch later today as well. Okay. Now, I just wanted to mention this briefly as we begin. If you open that up to the front cover, there's an information card. Okay? Please, at some time throughout today's conference, not necessarily right now, okay, but sometime throughout today's conference, fill this out. And then we have some boxes at each of the exits here and then at the registration table, and they'll be there all day. Okay, once you fill this card out, rip it out, and put it in that box. Those are our prize drawing boxes. At the end of the day today, we've got several prizes that we're going to give out. You will only win a prize if you've turned in that card. So fill that card out, again, sometime today. You don't have to do it right now. But fill that out, and then as you leave today, or as you're going around, or as you're coming back in here for lunch, just drop that off in one of those boxes, okay? All right. Again, thank you for being here today and taking the time out of your lives to join us. We'll go ahead and get started with today's program. It's my pleasure today to first introduce to you Jaron Pulver, who is here from the Utah Valley University Student Association. He'll welcome you on behalf of that organization. Following Jaron's time, it'll be our privilege to hear from the president of UVU, President Matthew Holland. And then following President Holland's remarks, it'll be my pleasure to stand up once again and to introduce to you today's speaker, Dr. Brad Wilcox. So with that, please help me welcome Jaron.
Good morning, students. Like Kirk said, my name is Jaron Pulver. I am the assistant to the student body president here at UVU. And in behalf of the students, I want to thank you for being here. And we want to welcome you. We hope that you feel welcome as you're here. As a student and going to a college, that I feel that's very important, that you feel welcome as you're here. Many of the students here in the CAL program are here, and we want you to know that you are our friends. And we love you, and we're grateful that you're here. I just wanted to share with you a quick thought that I had this morning, and as I've been thinking about what to share with you, that has kind of changed my leadership as I've gone to UVU. And it's a question, and it's a question that applies to you as well. And the question is, why are you here? I want you to think about that. You guys woke up really early to be here. You've dedicated some time, some schoolwork, and I want you to think about that deep and hard. Why are you here? And that can influence and change a lot of why you are here and what you will learn and what you will apply. Because you're about to go and you're going to hear some speakers. You're going to go to breakout sessions. And you're going to learn information that can influence your life to influence someone else's life. That can make a difference. And that's what you students are. You are the future leadership. You are those that are going to change the world. And I want you to, before you go to your first breakout, I want you to think about that and to maybe have the answer to that. Why am I here, and what am I going to apply? Because I feel that can influence and change your leadership and why you're here. So thank you for being here. It's my privilege now to welcome to the stage one of my true friends and someone I've looked up to in my own personal leadership, and that's the president of Utah Valley University, President Holland.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to Utah Valley University. It's really a delight for us to have you on campus today, especially my friends from Provo High. Where are you? Provo High, huh? Give it up, huh? All you guys, automatic scholarships to UVU. I'm kidding. I am a proud Provo Bulldog, but we are honored to have all of you here today. I hope you can tell by what you've seen so far that there are some really exciting things going on here at UVU. And I want to thank Kirk Young and his team for organizing this event and putting it on. And it's just typical of 1,000 exciting things that are happening on this campus. We are the fastest growing and one of now the largest institutions of higher learning in the state. And I think part of the reason for that is that we are really trying to get students connected and engaged with the world around them. That's something that's one of our core themes. We talk about being engaged with the world around us. And that's what your theme of your conference is about today, more or less, is about having the courage to get involved and the courage to lead out on things that you care about. And so this conference is designed to help you with that, but so is the whole of a UVU education. So we know a lot of you may be going to other schools, that's fine, but we hope that while you're here, you'll really take a look around and see what we're trying to do and see why this has become such a popular institution. Because front and center for us are the students and the experience that students will have on this campus. And this conference is just an example of that. So I hope that wherever you decide to go, soak up today, learn everything you can, and get a feel for the UVU way of doing business, about how we educate, how we try to inspire, how we try to get young people ready to go out in the world and really make a difference. I want to thank all of your administrators and counselors and teachers. I know these things don't happen without a lot of support from the local school, and so special thanks to your leaders who are here and those back at your institutions who've made it possible for you to have these leadership and growth development opportunities. In addition to Kirk Young and his team, I want to thank our own Cal Advisory Board and our mentors. These are folks who are on this campus or out in the community who just give a lot of their own time to give you young people real life experience and training and mentoring that can make such a difference. I know that's made a difference in my life, to have folks that I looked up to and admire who would take time to talk to me and counsel with me and teach me about how I can grow and develop as a leader. And I know that part of the reason I am standing where I stand today is because of mentors and leaders, and we try to provide those for you here at UVU, and they're here today, and we really express our appreciation to them. I'm just going to say one thing about the substance of today's remarks, and then a word about our guest speaker here today. And it's such a privilege for you folks to have hear from Brad Wilcox today. So I don't want to take much of his time, which is what the main event is for here. But let me just say this. Having been served now as president of UVU for almost 4 years, hard to believe to me it's been that long, but there's an idea that keeps coming to me. It's a quote from someone I admire, a leader I admire, Theodore Roosevelt. When in my own scholarship, in my own academic life, I study American political leaders. I study their thought and their speeches. And Theodore Roosevelt once gave a speech in Paris in 1910. And there's a paragraph in there about leadership. And it's something I read regularly and kind of rely upon regularly because, as the title of today's remarks suggests, it does take courage to lead. And one of the reasons it takes courage to lead is because almost every day a leader has to make decisions that are going to disappoint some people. You have to choose between, often it's not good and bad, but between various good things, because you can't do everything as an organization or as a group. And you have to confront difficult challenges and making these decisions and carrying them out and doing it without knowing yourself fully what the answer always is. Sometimes as a leader, you have to make decisions with imperfect information, but the decision has to be made. And so I really applaud your organizers for embracing this theme because it's an early principle you need to adopt. If you're just going to be timid and afraid and say, well, I can't do it perfect, or I can't do it without criticism, therefore I won't do it, you won't do anything, but nobody would do anything. And this world will only progress by people who will be willing to take a few chances and say, I don't know the answer for sure, and people may criticize me, but we got to do it. Someone's got to step up and lead. So here's what Theodore Roosevelt said about that principle. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who at the best knows, in the end, the triumph of high achievement? And who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. I hope that you catch the spirit of that, and I also hope you know this was written in an older era, and he could have easily said her instead of his. This applies to men and women. We need leaders, men, women, female leaders, and male leaders, but young people to step up and say, I may not know exactly how to do it, and I may not do it perfectly, but I'm willing to try, and I'm willing to work hard, and I'm willing to give it my very best effort. That really, I think, is in some ways the fundamental starting point of leadership development. And I offer it to you in the spirit that it's been an inspiration to me as something to get you launched in your conference today. With that, let me turn now and say just a word about our guest speaker. I'm not formally introducing him. Someone else will do that, and I do apologize that I need to be excused after this for some important meetings in Salt Lake. But Brad Wilcox is a longtime friend and hero and mentor of mine. And I could start to tell you a bunch of stories, but I won't do that because he knows more stories about me, and they're very embarrassing. So I will not share them, except I'll just, one quick story I will share about Brad to kind of highlight what a dynamic person he is and what an inspiration he's been to so many people. Now, I do this by way of a little autobiographical comment that I usually don't do, but some of you may know that my father is Elder Jeffrey R. Holland, who's one of the apostles in the Mormon Church. And I don't always say that in public, not because I'm embarrassed by it, I'm not, I'm very proud of who my father is, but UVU is a public institution. And I always want to stress this is a place for Mormons and non-Mormons, male and female, Republican, Democrat. We talk about being inclusive here. So I never want anyone to feel like if you're not LDS, you're not welcome here. You absolutely are. It's a wonderfully welcome environment for everybody. But I kind of need to tell you that detail so that you'll appreciate this story. So one night, my dad was down, and he took my family out to dinner. We went to Applebee's. And we're sitting there, and this kind of happens regularly. We go out to eat, and the server comes up and starts to pour the water and looks at my dad and does a double take, and then gets very nervous, and then kind of puts the pitcher down. She says, now, you're somebody, you're a famous person, aren't you? Pointing at my dad. And he's kind of just, what do you say to that? And she goes, you're a famous church speaker, aren't you? My dad sort of nodded, and she said, You're Brad Wilcox. My dad nodded and said yes, and she was very impressed. No. So anyway, for those of you who know my father, you'll know what a compliment that is to both Brad and my dad. Anyway, Brad is a very dynamic speaker. I've followed him and listened to him since I was your age. He probably doesn't want me to say that, but since I was in high school, I've been fed and taught and inspired by the things he's had to say. And so it's a great honor for me to embrace him now as a colleague here and welcome him to UVU and recommend him to you as someone who has a lot to teach you about life and leadership, and so I hope you'll listen carefully. So with that, I'll say thank you very much, and again, welcome to Utah Valley University.
Again, we want to thank President Holland for being here today and taking time out of his obviously very busy schedule to come and spend a little bit of time with you guys. And also to thank Jaron for representing Utah Valley University Student Association and being here on their behalf as well. So, without further ado, it's my honor and privilege to introduce to you today's speaker for this keynote session. Dr. Brad Wilcox is a professor in the Department of Teacher Education at Brigham Young University, where he also enjoys working with such programs as Especially for Youth, Women's Conference, and Campus Education Week. He grew up in Provo, Utah, and except for a few childhood years spent in Ethiopia, Africa, he and his family have also lived for a time in New Zealand, where he directed a study abroad program for BYU. He and his wife, Debbie, have 4 children and 3 grandchildren. Reading, writing, and teaching and traveling are some of his favorite things. He loves pizza and M&Ms. Peanut M&Ms. I got to get that right. But he realizes that doesn't necessarily sound too healthy, so he's also trying very hard to enjoy salads as well. So please join me in welcoming our speaker today, Dr. Brad Wilcox.
Thank you. No, this is fine. And thank you for being here. I appreciate President Holland. I appreciate those kind words. If I'm mixed up with the Holland family, then I'm in good company, and I always will be proud to be mistaken as part of their family. So thanks very much for that, President. And thank you for coming. I was in here a little earlier, greeting some of you, getting to know some of you, and seeing where you've come from. Some of you traveled from clear across the state to be able to be here. And I'm so excited that you're making this conference part of your year. And this will be a highlight for you as you look back. I love UVU. I love the good things that are happening here. And you'll be able to kind of get a feeling for some of those positive directions as you get going today. And as you enjoy interacting with the people here at UVU and also with each other. As you get to know each other, you're getting to know some of the greatest young people in the state, because some of our absolute top young people are sitting right here in this room today. So as you meet each other, you're going to be enjoying this chance to be able to become friends. And you'll be able to cross paths many, many times in coming years. Well, today, the message I have for you doesn't just come from me alone. It also comes from a lady that I met in prison. Now I wasn't in prison, but I was asked to speak at the prison. Now, that had me kind of scared, because I usually speak to young people like you. And so I was a little nervous when they said, would you come and speak at the prison? And then I found out that they wanted me to speak at the women's prison. And then I was really scared, because I pictured all these motorcycle mamas, and just like black leather and chains. And I was afraid they'd all want my body. And I was really nervous. So I go up there to the women's prison, and I met the most delightful group of ladies. They were wonderful. Yes, they've made mistakes. Yes, they've had problems. Yes, they're paying for those mistakes. But I was also impressed with how much they've learned. And I said to them, what do you want me to say to the young people? I speak to young people all the time. What do you want me to say to them, so that they can avoid some of the pain and some of the problems and some of the discouragement that you've had to face? And every one of those ladies had a piece of advice. But the one that I want to share with you today came from one lady, a simple sentence that came from one lady in particular, who said, you teach those young people to act and to not react. Wow, a simple sentence, but something that can make such a huge difference to you. You want to avoid her problems. You want to avoid her life. You want to avoid the consequences she's facing. Act. don't react. Well, what does that mean? Years ago, there was a girl from Utah who was named Charlene Wells. Her name now is Charlene Wells Hawks. She lives up in Centerville, and she is an amazing woman, and she was Miss America. Girl from Utah won Miss America. Everybody was all excited because here this little girl from Utah ended up winning the crown. Well, she was on all the TV shows. She was in all the magazines. She was in all the newspapers. Everybody knew her. She did a wonderful job of representing our state and representing our country. Well, can you imagine being the Miss Utah right after her? I mean, here she was. She won. Here she was representing us all over. And then along comes Gina Larson. Now, Gina was the next Miss Utah. She's getting ready to go back to the pageant. A friend calls her before she leaves and says, Gina, I just think you ought to know that you're going to lose. Gina said, oh, well, thank you for this phone call. Why are you saying that? And she says, look, they're never going to choose the same girl from the same state. Never. She says, you just might as well go back there. I don't want you to get your heart broken. You might as well just go back there knowing right up front you're going to lose. Well, Gina hangs up the phone and she's thinking, I don't want to lose. I want to be Miss America just as much as Charlene Wells wanted to be Miss America. I have just as much chance as she had, and I'm going to go back, and I'm going to have a positive attitude, and I'm going to win this thing. Well, she went back, she had a positive attitude, and her friend was right. They took her right out of the competition in the very first cuts. But she kept her head high. She decided she was going to handle it fine. She had a great week. The final night came. They're all out on the stage. Now, maybe you've seen it on TV. They're all out on the stage. They're in their beautiful dresses. They're smiling. There she is in this huge auditorium. She's looking out, and she sees these TV cameras. Not like video cameras, major network TV cameras. And she's thinking, wow, I'm on this side of the TV camera. You know, all my life, I've been on that side of the TV camera, watching this thing. And she says, now I'm on this side of the TV camera. She says, man, I felt so proud. I felt so happy that I had even come that far. She's right then, the girl on this side of her, Miss Wisconsin, starts crying. Well, they're not supposed to be crying. They're supposed to be smiling and having a happy day. So Gina leans over. They're on the stage of Miss America. Gina leans over and she says, so what's the matter with you? And the girl says, I have nothing left to live for. She was 21. She had been in 111 beauty pageants. It was everything she knew. It was everything she worked for. It was everything that motivated her. And now, all of a sudden, here she is on the stage of Miss America. She says, I have nothing left to live for. Gina thought, this is it? She says, oh my gosh, this is nothing. To me, in my life, this is nothing. This is one little experience in a whole lifetime full of limitless possibilities. This is nothing. She says, I felt so thankful for that perspective. Well, right then, the girl on this side of her starts crying. Miss Ohio. She's bawling. So Gina's like, so what is the matter with you? What, nothing left to live for? Huh? She's like, what is wrong? The girl says, how will I face my father again? I mean, I can't even imagine the pressure some of these girls are under. I mean, here she is, and she's thinking, man, my dad is in some bar someplace in Ohio, and he's bragging to all of his buddies that his daughter's going to be Miss America, and then she doesn't get chosen. She says, how will I face my father again? Oh, man, Gina says, I thought of my own dad. He loved me. He loved me if I was in a pretty dress. He loved me if I was in jeans. He loved me if I had makeup on my face. He loved me if I didn't have makeup on my face. He loved me if I didn't have a face on my head. He just loved me. She says, I just felt so thankful for that. She says, right then, she says, I just couldn't take it anymore. She says, it had been a long week. I'd been under a lot of pressure. She says, I'm standing there on the stage. This girl's crying. This girl's crying. They're crowning the new Miss America. She's crying. She says, I just couldn't take it. She says, I finally just started to laugh. She says, I just laughed. Now she goes home. She's watching the video of this thing that her parents had made. And they get to the end of the video, the crown and the new Miss America. She turns over to talk to her dad. And all of a sudden, she hears herself laughing on the TV. She says, Brad, you cannot even hear the announcer. She says, all you hear is this hysterical cackling. She says, I was so proud. She says, man, that was my time on national TV. She says, everybody in the whole country would have said, that girl is a loser. You know, she just lost Miss America. But she says, I did it. I did it. I did what they always tell you you're supposed to do. She says, I acted. I didn't react. She says, I laughed. And she says, I have it on video to prove it to everybody. Now that's acting. See, the whole circumstance would have dictated, you start crying. It's time to cry. But she didn't. She chose how she was going to act. And she acted. She laughed at the very moment when everything around her would have said, you have the right to cry. She chose differently. That's what we have to do. We spend so much of our life reacting. Man, you hit me, hit you back. And you make fun of me, I'll make fun of you. And you call my sister ugly, I'm going to run over your sister. We spend our whole lives reacting, man. Push me, I'll push you. Gossip about me, I'll gossip about you. No way. Get out of that cycle and just decide that you're going to step up by acting. How many have ever said hello to a total stranger? Good for you. How many have ever had that person freak out? Yeah! Oh my gosh, all you do is say hello and they're like, whoa. I mean, I go into stores, I say hi to little kids. Hi, the mothers start gathering them. I'm like, oh my gosh, all I did was say hi. Say hello, that's all I did. And that's what I want you to have the courage to do. Just say hi. Man, what happens when you're walking along and all of a sudden your eyes meet with somebody you don't know? Where do your eyes go? Always. See, it's like we're little puppets. Somebody pulls a string. See, we always look away. I don't let people get away with that. I teach at BYU, and on that campus, man, there's 30,000 students, and I walk across campus, and I say hi to everybody. Hi, 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 hi. They usually think that I am hi, because I say hi to everyone. And if I'm walking along, and somebody's eyes go down, I don't let them get away with that. I go, hi. And then they laugh. They do what you just did. They laugh because they realize how stupid it is that the sidewalks are getting more attention than the people who are walking on the sidewalks. Come on, just say hi. Say hi to people. Even here today, you're here at a leadership conference. So are you going to just kind of walk around with the people you came with? Or are you going to have the courage to kind of step out of that comfort zone, say hi to somebody new, meet somebody from another school, meet somebody from across the state? Today's a day not just to sit and talk about leadership. Today's a day to be a leader. And you start that by saying hi. Just say hi to somebody you don't know today. Just say hi and use that opportunity to act and not react. How many have ever been driving on the freeway? Okay, how many have ever been driving on the freeway with your mother? Okay, and your mom's driving, and all of a sudden some truck comes up behind you, or some car comes up behind you, and he's honking. And you're like, Mom, pull over. He wants to get past you. And your mom's like, and you're like, Mom, just pull over. And she's like, I can't. There's a big truck right there. Pretty soon your mom finally pulls over. The guy speeds past you, and as he passes you, he flips you off. How many know what I'm talking about? Okay, so there's your little test. There's your little test. Do you act or do you react? See? Are you a puppet? Does he pull your string? Do you show him a few little fingers of your own? See? Or do you have the courage to act? Say hi. 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 Acting, not reacting. See, you can be a puppet. He can pull your string. You can do exactly what he wants you to do. Or you can have the courage to act differently, to act toward the situation and not react to it. Where do we react more than at a dance? How many have ever been to a dance that was supposed to start at 8, you get there at 8:30 and nobody is dancing? How many know what I'm talking about? Oh yeah. And you're like, how come nobody's out there dancing? Well, the question is, how come you're not out there dancing? No way, I'm not going out there and starting this dance. Yeah, you are. That's what you got to do. You don't wait till somebody else gives you permission. You get out there. You start the dance. You be the one that gets out there and gets it going. That's acting toward the situation. Most men my age don't spend a lot of time at youth dances, but I do. I'm at youth dances all the time, and it's so crazy. I look down here, and there's a little circle of girls dancing together. And I look over here, and there's a little circle of boys dancing together. And I feel like I am at a Jewish wedding. Now, it's time, you got to blend the circles, all right? Blend the circles. And then when the slow song starts, can you feel the love tonight? All right, when the slow song starts, gentlemen, that's your moment. That's when you got to break away from the circle, and you got to go and ask a girl to dance. What? I'm not asking a girl to dance. I'm just here to listen to the music. I'm just going to stand here until some girl gets desperate enough to come and ask me. No way. Man, you be the one that acts. Don't wait for some girl to come ask you. You be the one that breaks away and goes up and asks a girl to dance. Now, girls, you have to understand, most boys don't say, may I have this dance? They should. Their moms teach them how. But when push comes to shove, most boys just kind of grunt. So if a boy comes up to you at a dance and goes, do not call the paramedics. Just say, yes, I'd love to, and then get out there and dance with him. That's acting and not reacting. Get out there and dance with him. Now, why don't we have the courage to do this? Why is it that we get so nervous? We don't want to say hi to somebody we don't know. We don't want to ask somebody to dance. We don't want to get out there and start the dance. Why is it that we want to stay in that comfortable little circle of boys or that comfortable little circle of girls? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because we're scared. We're afraid. We're afraid of what might happen if we step outside that comfortable circle. Fear is an interesting thing. I read a whole article about teenagers' fears. And they had done a study. They actually had interviewed teenagers and surveyed teenagers about their worst fears. Then they surveyed adults about teenagers' worst fears. And the answers weren't the same. Well, I was fascinated by that. So I actually asked my kids. I said, what are you most afraid of? Well, my oldest daughter said, bees. And that's no surprise because we were at a picnic one time and she got swarmed and she got stung 80 times. So, she's still scared of bees. All right? I asked my son, Russell, what are you most afraid of? He says, sharks. We live in Provo. There aren't a lot of sharks in Provo River. But he's seen enough movies that he's scared of sharks. Well, so then I asked my little daughter. She was just in first grade at the time. Whitney, what are you most afraid of? Big booms in the sky. She doesn't like that. All right? So then I asked my son. He was only in kindergarten, David. I said, what are you most afraid of? He puffs out his little chest. He hikes his little hands up on his hips. He says, vacuums. Now, most teenagers can handle bees, and most of you can handle sharks, especially if you live in Utah. And most of you can handle big booms in the sky, and most of you are not terrified of vacuums. All right? You're terrified that your mother will ask you to push one. I mean, that just scares you. But the sound of the vacuum itself does not throw you over the edge. So, what are you most afraid of? Well, this is what the survey said. Number one answer, being alone, not having enough friends. Number two, being teased or bullied. Number three, being embarrassed in front of your peers. Now, some of you are tough. You're like, no way, those aren't my fears. No, bring on the sharks. I will wrestle the sharks. I mean, no. I mean, most of you can act tough, but you know what? Deep inside, all of us are afraid of that. We're all nervous. Nobody wants to be alone. Nobody wants to be the one standing there alone in a line, eating alone at a table. Nobody wants to be alone in a class or in the hall. So we're afraid of that. Nobody wants to be teased or bullied. Nobody wants to be made fun of for the way you look, the way you act, the things you like, the things you don't like, your beliefs, your values. Nobody likes to be made fun of. Nobody wants to be teased or ridiculed. You go out and try to start the dance, and all your friends are over there going, they're mimicking you. See, nobody wants that. What are we afraid of? Embarrassed, being embarrassed in front of our peers. Nobody wants that. Oh, did I? Was it something with the microphone? Are you okay? Good. All right. I was afraid that maybe I was doing something wrong up here. Nobody wants to be embarrassed. Nobody wants to stand up in front of a group like this and then find out all of a sudden that your fly is open. Nobody wants to fall off the stage as you're speaking. I mean, nobody wants to come and be embarrassed in front of other people. So how do we face those fears? Because those fears can paralyze us. They can keep us from doing the very things that we're talking about. Acting, not reacting. The fear can actually stop us. So how do we face those fears? Well, here's a few suggestions. Number one, expect the best. Don't you dare talk yourself out of it. Don't go into a dance thinking, no girl would ever say yes to me. No way, I'm not going to ask a girl because no girl would ever say yes. Don't go into a dance saying, no boy's ever going to ask me to dance. So I might as well just go to the women's restroom. Sanctuary of sanctuaries. I might as well just go there right now because I'm never going to get asked to dance. No, don't talk yourself out of it. Don't be the one that says there's no way that I can do this. Don't talk yourself out of it. Expect the best. Go into a situation saying, I have just as much right to be here, and I can have just as much fun as anybody else, and I'm going to have a blast. Even today, go into it with the right kind of attitude. Don't walk into this today going, oh my gosh, this is going to be lame. Oh my gosh, nobody's going to like me. Oh my gosh, we're going to be... No. Expect the best. This is going to be the best stinking conference you've ever been to. The food's going to be the best. The speakers are going to be the best. You are going to meet the neatest kids in the entire universe. Go in with that kind of attitude. Walk in expecting the best. Well, what if the best doesn't happen? What if all of a sudden things don't turn out the way that you want them to? What if you go to the dance and you try to start the dance and your friends are making fun of you? What if you go up and ask a girl to dance? You give her your very best grunt. And she looks you up and down and she says, my leg hurts. I mean, what are you going to do? Crawl back to the circle of boys? We hate women. We hate women. What are you going to do? You're going to crawl back, tell all your buddies, we're just here to listen to the music. We're just here to listen to the music. No, come on. Expect the best. When the best doesn't happen, then hear the secret message. Hear the secret message. How many have ever heard a speaker stand up at a podium like this and say words like this? I am so happy to be here. How many have ever heard that? Yeah, his mouth is saying one thing, but everything else is saying something completely different. His mouth is saying, I'm happy to be here, and everything else is saying, I am having a heart attack in front of your very eyes. I mean, all right? So hear the secret message. Whenever anybody teases, whenever anybody belittles you, whenever anybody has to start making fun or talking bad about you, hear the secret message. Oh, there's one message coming through with his mouth, but there's another message coming through too. And that message is that that person doesn't feel good about himself, that that person has no self-esteem. So hear that secret message. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean you walk up to the person, excuse me, but the reason you are making fun of me is because you do not have any self-esteem? No, you don't do that. You just hear the secret message, and then that secret message allows you to keep acting with confidence. Don't wimp out. Don't crawl off. Don't give in. Keep acting with confidence. And you can do it if you realize what they're really saying. What they're really saying is that they have nothing going at all. And if you see that, if you know that, then you can keep going with confidence. I know a girl, and she bought a modest t-shirt because she wanted to feel more comfortable. She wears it to school. All of her friends are like, she says, I am taking this home, man. She goes home. She puts that t-shirt in the back of her closet. It's never going to see the light of day again. She's so embarrassed. She's so humiliated. And all of a sudden, she starts walking out of her room, and she's thinking, I bought that. My mom didn't buy that. I bought that because I wanted to feel more comfortable. Since when do my friends dress me? Since when am I a Barbie doll? They can just dress up however they want. No way. She goes and she gets that shirt. She wears it the next day. Her friends are just like, she says, I like it. I like it. Man, that's confidence. Guys, you go to school and somebody makes fun of what you're wearing. You just say, I like it. I like my scout uniform. I like it. I like it. Keep wearing what you're wearing with confidence. Keep doing what you're doing with confidence. As long as you know that what you're doing is good, and as long as you know that what you're doing is right, keep doing it with confidence. I went to a dance one time, a youth dance, and I looked out, and these boys started dancing like chickens. Now, I'm not talking like, no. I'm talking like chickens. I mean, I'm looking at these guys, and I'm thinking, oh, man, they are going to get laughed out of this room. They were so, now this is a pun, they were so cocky that not only did they not get made fun of, but people started imitating them. I saw it with my own eyes. Before the dance was over, half of the people in the room were dancing like chickens because these guys didn't back off. They didn't wimp out. They didn't crawl off the minute somebody looked at them funny. They kept doing what they were doing with confidence. That's what I want you to realize, is that you can face the world with that same kind of confidence. So expect the best. Don't go in thinking everybody's going to be making fun of you. Don't go into a situation that's new thinking everybody's not going to like you. Don't go into a situation thinking, gosh, nobody here knows me. Nobody here knows I'm cool. Gosh, everybody at my school knows I'm cool. But nobody here knows I'm cool, so how do I let them know that I'm cool without telling them I'm cool? And that's not cool if you have to tell people you're cool. So how do you do that? See, don't go into a situation expecting the worst. Go into a situation expecting the best. And if the best doesn't happen, if somebody does start ridiculing, if somebody does make fun, if somebody does start gossiping, if somebody does start bullying, then hear the secret message. Don't take it at face value. Hear the secret message. Whenever somebody belittles or teases or ridicules or calls names or gossips, it says so much more about that person than it ever says about you. So hear what it's saying about that person. And then you'll be able to handle those comments. You'll be able to let them brush off of you instead of sink inside of you. And then keep doing what you're doing with confidence. Remember, you're not the first one that has had to face fears and come out on top. I want to introduce you to one of my very favorite heroes. His name was Booker T. Washington. If you forget everything else today, please don't forget that name, Booker T. Washington. Say it with me. Booker T. Washington, a black man, born into slavery, born before the Civil War was even finished being fought. He lived through some of the worst prejudice, through some of the worst unfairness, through some of the worst bigotry that the world has ever known. He lived at a time when it was impossible for him to gain an education, but he wanted it so desperately. There were some teachers. There were some teachers who could see the potential in this young black man. And so they hired him as a janitor. He could not be in the school as a student, so they hired him as a janitor. And then they whispered in his ear, just clean the back of the room while I'm teaching my class. Before long, he was the top student in the school. He went on to become a teacher, and he literally educated an entire race, an entire people. He literally helped the country go through one of the most awkward and awful transitions it has ever faced. And he did it by living by this rule: I shall allow no man to belittle my soul by making me hate him. I shall allow no man to belittle my soul by making me hate him. Wow, that's acting. That's not reacting. That's acting. And that's what Booker T. Washington did. Now, if he could face what he faced, and he could act and not react, then you can do it too. Look around you. Find heroes. Find people you can look at and say, man, if he can do it, I can do it too. And cut those puppet strings. We just had the Academy Awards, for Pete's sake. We just gave awards to people we call actors. But that's not the kind of acting I'm talking about. Because anybody can do it when there's a script. Anybody can do it when we already know what the ending is going to be. Anybody can jump out of the building when you know there's an air mattress below you. Anybody can do it when they know that there's a stuntman that's going to come in and take over when things get really hard. No, that's not the kind of acting I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kind of acting that you do at your school every day when you don't know what the end is going to be, when there is no stuntman that comes in. The kind of acting that it takes to survive in your school is the courage to look at a hero like Booker T. Washington and say, I can do the same thing. I'll tell you about one kid I know who lived that way. His name was Ward. I met him in Texas, and this was a young man who was a student body officer at his school. Same kind of thing that most of you are dealing with. He was a student leader in his school. And usually he was so caught up with the other leaders that he failed to remember that the reason he was a leader was not just to be with leaders. He had another responsibility as well, to reach out to others. Well, he started noticing something. Their school was a closed campus, so they couldn't leave for lunch. So that meant everybody had to either eat lunch in the lunchroom or bring a lunch from home. And he started noticing that the ones who were bringing their lunches from home were all the kids who were kind of being left out, all the kids who were outside the circle, all the kids who were struggling, all the kids who were being made fun of. They were the ones that were bringing their lunches from home. Well, Ward decided that he was going to act and not react. He was going to see if there was one small thing he could do about that. So he went out that night and he bought a lunchbox. He-Man lunchbox. He put his lunch in it and he took it to school the next day. All of his friends are like, He-Man? He didn't say anything. He goes to his classes, he puts his lunchbox up on top of his desk. His teachers are like, He-Man? He didn't say a word. He goes into the lunchroom, and instead of sitting with all of his friends, all of the leaders together, he went over to another table. He went over to a table where some of these kids were sitting eating their home lunches, and he sat down with them. Now, they're slow, but they are not that slow. They're looking at him like, He-Man? He just sat there and started eating his lunch. Well, after a little while, some of his buddies, some of his team members start thinking, oh, I get it. Like Ward's making fun of these kids. I get it. Oh, like Ward's, oh, this is good. Oh, man, he planned this out. This is awesome. This is so good. So they go over to the table, and they start pushing, and they start shoving, and they start swearing, and they start calling names the same way they've done with these kids ever since elementary school. And that's when Ward stood up. He said, get out of here! Now, you know as well as I do that that could be labeled social suicide. And Ward just committed it. Get out of here! You want to eat at this table, you bring a lunch from home. This is a cold lunch table. You can't eat here unless you have a lunch from home. Now get out of here! The next day, lunch boxes start showing up all over the school. Casper the Friendly Ghost. The Jetsons. Smurfs. Lunch boxes start showing up all over the school. It got to the point where the administrators of the school had to actually come to Ward and say, please knock it off, because nobody's eating lunch anymore. The lunch ladies are going to lose their jobs because nobody is eating school lunch. Everybody's bringing lunches in boxes from home because one kid decided he was going to act and not react. That's the kind of power that happens when you make this decision to cut the puppet strings. One last story, and then we'll conclude. I was at a big EFY, and I went to this big youth event, and they were holding it on a campus of a university back east. There were over 1,000 kids there. And I was going as one of the workshop speakers, just like you're going to have workshop speakers today. Well, I was impressed with all the young people, and as I noticed one girl, and I'll call her Carrie, but I noticed her because she had braces on her legs, and she had canes. Maybe you've seen it. The cane has a little clasp that goes around her forearm and then the handle so that she can hold on to the canes. And everywhere she walked, she literally would lean from this side to this side to this side. And that's how she would walk. Well, then I found out the room they put me in. It was clear across campus. All the other speakers were in like the student union building, and I am like clear across campus. So I thought, man, nobody's going to come hiking clear over here, especially not Carrie. Well, I was surprised that some of the kids came, and there was Carrie. I thought, man, that is totally an extra mile for her. Considering her situation, her handicap, I can't even believe she's here. This is amazing. So I thought, I got to make sure I thank her before we leave. So the end of the workshop comes. Some of the youth came down there talking to me, and I see Carrie making her way down this aisle toward the door. And I thought, well, I got to break away and go thank her. But I didn't want to be rude to these teenagers. So I just kind of kept talking to him, and I'd glance up, and she was getting closer and closer to the door. And so finally I just said, hey, you guys, hang on for 2 seconds. I said, just hang on. Hey, Carrie, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much. Look, I'll see you at the dance. Save me a dance. I look back at these teenagers who suddenly aren't talking anymore. Suddenly they're looking at me like, do you have a brain? And I'm thinking, what? And all of a sudden it hit me what I'd said. Save me a dance. Then I looked back over, and Carrie was standing by the door. She had her canes hanging down at the side of her. And she says, I don't dance. I felt so stupid. I mean, a teenager's worst fear, being made fun of, being ridiculed, being embarrassed, and she thought I was teasing her. She thought I was embarrassing her in front of her peers. A teenager's worst fear. Oh man, I felt so stupid. I wanted to suck my words back up. Have you ever wanted to just pull a vacuum out of your head and just suck your words back up? I just wanted to suck them up. I just wish that had never happened. Because I love young people. I love you. I love teenagers. I would never hurt you. And she felt like I was making fun of her. Oh, I felt terrible. Well, that night the dance came. It was supposed to start at 8 or whatever. I got over there about 8:15. Nobody is dancing. 1,000 teenagers standing around the edges of this ballroom. The music's blaring, not one person out there dancing. And I'm thinking, oh man, how come you guys aren't dancing? Well, how come nobody's out there dancing? This is ridiculous. How come nobody's out there starting this dance? And just as I'm sitting there looking around judging everybody, all of a sudden I hear somebody yelling my name. Yo, Wilcox! Get over here. I turn around, and there's Carrie. She is standing in the middle of the dance floor. She's in her pretty dress. She's waving me over with her cane like it's an extension of her arm. She's like, get over here. You said you were going to dance with me. So you get over here and you dance with me. Now, I'm thinking to myself, me? Start the dance? I'm old. I dance like the Brady Bunch. You want me to get out there and do my disco moves? I mean, you want me to start this dance with all these teenagers watching me, like totally, they're like gonna be looking at all my little moves. And then I thought, oh, Brad, listen to yourself. You're worried? You're worried about what people might say about you? You're worried about what people might think about you? Here's a girl who can't even walk. And not only does she have the courage to dance, but she has the courage to start the dance? Oh man, that was one of those moments where I cut the puppet strings. I was a grown man. I was a father of children. I was an adult, and this teenager was teaching me. Get over here and dance with me. Man, I tell you that story because that was a time when I cut the strings. I said, forget it. I'm sick of it. I'm just sick of letting other people have so much power in my life. Oh, what will they think? Oh, what will they say? Oh my gosh, what are they going to do? Forget it. Since when do they have that much of a vote in my choice, my election, to decide what I am going to do? No way. They're not going to have that kind of vote. I cut those puppet strings. I walked out on that dance floor. I danced with that girl, and I've never forgotten it. She's probably forgotten it 1,000,000 times over. She could probably be sitting here in this room and not even remember that this happened. But I've never forgotten it because that was one of those moments when I decided I was going to act and I was not going to react, and I have never regretted it. Now, young people, that's the challenge. The theme today is step up. Well, step up is step out. Step outside of that comfort zone. Step outside of that circle of friends and start acting, not reacting. Say hi. Even today, challenge yourself. How many new names can you learn? How many names of people can you learn as you meet kids from other schools? Even today, that's the challenge. Act. When you go back to your school, be like Booker T. Washington. Be like Ward. Decide that you're not going to just stay in the same circle you're in, but decide right now that you're going to stretch out, you're going to act, and not react. Frightening? Yeah. But face that fear. Expect the best. Expect the same thing that Ward experienced. Expect the same life change that Carrie had. Expect the best. And when the best doesn't happen, hear the secret message. And let that keep helping you act with confidence. As long as you know that what you're doing is good and right, act with confidence. That's what the lady in the prison said. She said, you want to avoid my life? Stop letting other people dictate every word you say, everything that's cool, everything that's not cool. I go into high schools all the time. I could walk into your high school tomorrow and I could measure the temperature that fast. I could tell you what's cool in your school, what's not cool in your school. What's cool to wear, what's not cool to wear. What cool music, what's the cool music, what's the not cool music. What's the cool thing to drive, what's the not cool thing to drive. What's the cool thing to be talking about, what's the not cool thing. What's the cool music groups, what's the not cool music groups. I could tell you. I could be there for 5 minutes and I could measure the temperature, but that's not because anything special. Anybody can measure the temperature. You have to be the one that sets the temperature. Don't be a thermometer. A thermometer measures the temperature. Anybody can do that. You be the thermostat. You be the one that sets the temperature. And that's acting and not reacting. God bless you. I am so grateful that you came today, and I'm so thankful to have this chance to be with you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Brad. And boy, I don't know about you guys, but that was pretty awesome stuff. Hopefully the rest of the day will be just as neat and informational for you. Just quickly, and you don't need to do it right now, but in your bag you have one of these. It's a program, okay? And that outlines the different sessions that are offered today. I need to tell you just 3 quick things, okay? And that's as far as the room assignments. SC stands for Student Center. And those are all rooms that are kind of in this particular building. The center stage is the only one that's on this floor. Center stage, if you just walk out and down the hall, that's where that is. The rest of the rooms that say SC are upstairs in this building. If it says SB, as in Brad, okay, that's the science building. All right? That's just down the hallway a little bit and to your right. Okay, there will be students out there wearing that little name badge that will be able to tell you where you need to go. Okay, so just ask them and they can point you in the right direction. There was one little misprint in the program for Chris Cole's session, and that's on, I think, the second page there. The title of his is The Courage to Lead. It says that it's in SC 246. That's actually in the science building, so that's SB. Again, there will be students out there to help you find that. The last one is the LI, and that's the library. And that's back toward the doors where you guys came in. So you walk around the hall. Again, there will be students to guide you. You walk around the hall and then down to our library, and that's where it's at. Okay? Remember to fill out those cards and turn them in. We'll now dismiss you to go to your 3 sessions, and in the end, we're going to gather back here. Okay? All right. Thank you guys for being here.